Welcome to r/relationships, where OP's wife pulls a gun on him. Our next Reddit post is from Cermak. My wife and I have only been married a year. We dated for 5 years. The other day, we got into a pretty heated argument. The argument was over having firearms in the house. I had brought a few guns of mine from my dad's house into our townhome that we rent. I told her that I brought them home. She then made a comment about throwing them away or surrendering them to the police station. I said to her, "What if I threw your makeup away?" She got mad and dropped the conversation. When she gets mad, she isolates herself in the other bedroom and refuses to speak to me until I approach her about it. The next day passes and I get home from work. I have a few things to do, so I mind my own business. It's late in the evening by this point, and I know that I have to talk to her to try to fix it. I open the door and ask, "Do you have a minute to talk?" She says, "You said you were bringing home a few guns." I said I did and asked what she was talking about. For context, I keep a few cases to take to the range. She gets up out of the bed and goes to our bedroom closet and starts throwing the cases to the floor. I'm like, "What the hell are you doing?" I try to stop her from tearing up the closet, and she slapped me. She said that I lunged at her. I said, "You're acting like a 5-year-old. We had a foot or two of space between us. When she was throwing the cases, one of the pistols fell out of the case. I keep all my firearms unloaded. She picked it up and pointed it at me. I immediately take it away from her and clear it. I ask her, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" She's like, "Why do you need that if you're scared of it?" I told her to treat every firearm as if it's loaded. She says that she doesn't feel safe with those in the house. I told her I was getting a safe for them. She's like, "I don't want to see that." I ask, "What was the point of throwing the cases? I don't throw your stuff around." She's like, "Fine, you want me to throw my stuff?" And she proceeds to throw her makeup and other care products from her makeup desk. She then goes, "It's me or the guns. This won't be fixed between us until those guns are gone." And she storms off and goes back to the other room and slams the door shut. It's been a few days, and she keeps coming home very late every night, and this morning when I tried to talk to her, the door was barricaded. At this point, emotionally and physically, I want a divorce or an annulment. I just don't know the best course of action. Yeah, my family knows this and says I need to leave. It's incredibly ironic that this woman says she doesn't feel safe when the gun's in the house, when the really dangerous thing in the house is her. Pointing a gun at someone is beyond deal breaker. That's like prison territory. Our next Reddit post is from Comprehensive Bus. I worked as a child actor from the ages of 8 to 14, and I still get small residual checks today. I'm now an adult, and recently my parents told me there were delinquent dues on my account that had built up over 5 years, something I hadn't been aware of. After paying those off, I was finally able to access my account and see my cumulative earnings from that time. I was honestly surprised by how high the total was. That led me to go back through my old bank statements, and I realized that roughly 94% of those earnings had been spent before I ever had access to my own bank account. About 15%, as per the Coogan Act, was set aside in a Coogan savings account that I couldn't touch until I turned 18, which I didn't access until after college. Now I'm trying to figure out how to feel about all this. I understand that a portion of the money likely went towards my career, acting lessons, transportation to gigs and auditions, etc. But it doesn't seem like those expenses would come close to what was spent. And as I navigate supporting myself with my job, rent, and student loans, it's frustrating to think that I could have felt a lot more secure if that money had been saved or invested. I have a good relationship with them, and I don't want to blow anything up. I'm really just looking for clarity and if it's worth a conversation. Any advice on approaching a conversation with my parents about this topic? OP, 94% of your money is gone. So you'd have roughly 20 times your current amount if all that money was still there? Yeah, I'd talk to them about it. I'd also talk to a lawyer about it. Also in the comments, we have this story from Beret of Poodle. I did modeling when I was a child. Newspaper ads, TV, etc. Nothing major, but it did make money. My mother was perplexed when, as an adult, I asked her where the money was, and she couldn't understand why I'd be upset that she spent it all. But then, this is the woman who told me that I was her most valuable possession. Our next Reddit post is from OK Lavishness. My mother-in-law dropped a bombshell on me. My husband is 30, and I'm a 29-year-old woman. We're doing one of those ancestry DNA tests to find out more about our genetics and ancestry. I happened to tell my mother-in-law about this yesterday, thinking nothing of it. Well, today, she sends me a message saying that she has some very serious and important information to tell me, but begs me not to tell anyone, especially my husband. I called her as soon as I saw her message. It was a long phone call. She basically told me that my husband's dad is not actually his biological father. For context, my husband has an older brother and a younger sister. His parents have been married all of his life. His mom tells me that after having her first child, her husband became emotionally abusive and attached. She met a guy at work whom she had a soulmate connection with and got pregnant. Shortly after, my husband was born. She got pregnant again by the same guy and had my husband's younger sister. The guy was also married and had kids with his wife, so they kept it all a secret. Apparently, the guy knows about my husband and his younger sister, and has even visited them at the hospital after their births. My husband's mother claims that she tried to leave her husband many times as the kids were growing up, but she felt trapped as she had no money and no support. Her husband has no idea till this day and believes that all 3 of the kids are his. This secret has been kept for over 30 years, and now I'm the only person that she's told. She said she told me because we're doing the DNA tests. She's worried about my husband finding out through the DNA test because his ancestry will look completely different than what he was expecting. I just don't know what to do, and I've been a nervous wreck all day. This is life-changing information. Everything my husband knows is not true, and the man that raised him isn't even his real father. I have a feeling that my husband will have a huge identity crisis. I keep looking at the bio dad's Facebook pictures, and the resemblance is uncanny. Now it makes sense why my husband and his sister look so different from their older brother. I just feel so awful knowing this information and keeping it from my husband. He deserves to know, but it's not my story to tell. My mother-in-law begged me not to say anything. I want to encourage her to tell him, but I know that it'll cause irreversible change to the family dynamic. She doesn't want her husband to know anything. He's very medically fragile, and she's worried this information will send him over the edge. I'm still deeply shaken by receiving this information, and I don't know how to process it. I know in a few weeks, my husband will find out anyways after he gets the DNA results. Have you ever been in a similar situation? If so, how do you cope? Alright, cheating on your husband is bad enough. Getting pregnant by the guy you're cheating with is bad enough. Doing the whole thing a second time is bad enough. Keeping it secret from your kids for 30 years is bad enough. But then to also put that burden of knowledge onto your daughter-in-law and expect her to keep your secret is somehow even worse yet still. This woman is a scumbag, OP, and you owe her nothing. You should absolutely tell your husband, because if your husband finds out that you knew and that you didn't tell him, you might get divorced. Your loyalty should be to him, your husband, not the cheating mother-in-law. Our next Reddit post is from I Hope You Don't Find This. Yesterday morning, I was messaged by a mutual friend, Sam, a 34-year-old woman, expressing concern for our buddy Dylan, who's 33. We all went to school together, then moved apart. Sam and I don't talk, but we're friends on social media, and Dylan will mention us to each other now and then in the way anyone would mention their friends in passing. I had also begun to worry about Dylan lately and had planned to reach out to Sam myself. She just beat me to it. He's always been flaky and bad at keeping plans, and he said stuff in the past that I've known wasn't correct, but it was never a big deal. Like, he would contradict a story he had told me previously, but it was always small enough that it just didn't bother me, and I would humor him. I mean, people exaggerate for effect sometimes. It's not the end of the world. But it's been getting more and more the last few weeks, and I've begun to worry that it's a medical concern. He's been erratic, confused, forgetting things, and just acting odd. Sam had the same feeling. However, as we started to talk about our worries, we realized stuff wasn't lining up. There were things that he had told me and not her, and vice versa, or different versions of the same story. We started digging deeper and realized the lies stretch back at least 10 years that we know of. The lies range from the city that he lives in, his job and his finances, to marriage, abuse, and cancer. He told me he had eloped with his partner and got married. He told Sam none of this, despite telling me that she and I would be bridesmaids at their wedding before they decided to just do it in Vegas. We reached out to some old friends whom neither of us are in touch with, but knew that he was. And turns out, they all distanced themselves from him when they realized they were getting different stories, but none of them knew the depths of it. It was odd and frustrating that I had never met his partner, but not outside the realms of reality because we live in different countries. And they both travel for work, and I don't have much money or time to go gallivanting. We had spoken to the husband on a different phone number, and everything seemed legit. He had candid photos. We've now realized that he got these pictures from the internet. I actually found the guy in the photos on Instagram and spoke to him yesterday, and he had never even heard of Dylan. Dylan had alleged a lot of abuse from his parents as well, which is deeply upsetting, as he knows that I've been in an abusive relationship previously. He also told us about 18 months ago that he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He's told us about surgeries and treatments and remission and it coming back. I've spent so many nights bereft thinking my best friend was going to die. It's now become clear that this is not true. Everything he said that's not added up has either been so small I didn't care, or assumed that he was confused, or that it was a misunderstanding. Or so big you would never question it because why on earth would someone do that? Especially since we've known him since we were all kids, and he was always so put together, intelligent, successful, generous. But we realize that's all an illusion. Initially, we worried that it was maybe head trauma from the long-term abuse, or that the cancer had spread to his brain or something. But the depth and the breadth of it, plus the realization that the cancer is a lie, we're now not so sure. Our next Reddit post is from Current Peak. Last night, my husband and I went out with friends while my family watched our son. I rarely drink anymore, especially since becoming a mom. But we were out celebrating and I was dancing with one of my girlfriends. Her gay cousin came up behind me while we were dancing, and before I could even fully turn around, my husband shoved both of us so hard that we ended up on the floor. My knees were scraped up from it, even through my jeans. While I was on the floor, he said, "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes," which is something he says when he's angry. My friends rushed over to check on me. I looked at my friend's cousin afterwards, and the look on his face honestly broke my heart because I've seen that exact look on my gay friends before after dealing with aggressive men. I felt so embarrassed and ashamed of my husband's behavior. When I got up, I grabbed my phone to text him, but he had already texted me saying the same thing. "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." I asked where he was, and he was already driving home on the freeway, leaving me there. I had to call my sister to come pick me up, and my dad and younger brother came too. Then my husband called my dad and lied, saying someone had pulled a gun on him and that's why he left. That never happened. My friends are genuinely good people and there was no situation like that. My dad ended up blaming me because I'd been drinking, which also hurt because in my family, drinking as a woman or a mother is looked down on. Meanwhile, my husband drinks way more often than I ever do, and usually I'm the sober driver. Today is also my mother-in-law's birthday, and I didn't go because my husband told me he's not ready to be around me. He hasn't apologized or acknowledged what he did. This is the first time he's ever physically shoved me like that, but emotionally, I feel like I've been here before. I'm exhausted trying to make things work and constantly praying he'll change. I feel like he keeps showing me that he won't. I honestly don't even know what I'm looking for posting this. Maybe perspective? Maybe validation that this isn't normal? I just feel hurt, embarrassed, and tired. How do I move forward after something like this? I obviously want to stay together for our 3-year-old, but I also can't ignore what happened and the fact that he still hasn't apologized or taken accountability. Down in the comments we have this. 2 months ago, OP posted about him getting aggressive with your 3-year-old in the car and you worrying about him using cocaine. This is only going downhill, and you need to leave for your child. Yeah, why are we even discussing this? OP, get out of there before we read about you on a news report. Our next Reddit post is from Brianna Oops. Me and my husband have been splitting the nights. He takes the baby from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m., and then I have him from then on. He's fallen asleep multiple times during his shifts, where I then have to take over when I hear the baby screaming. He will not wake up for the baby crying at all, so he tries to stay awake for the whole shift. Then, last night, my husband left a pizza in the oven for over 2 hours while he fell asleep during his shift. The baby was in the bassinet in the kitchen, screaming when I woke up. The kitchen was filled with smoke, and my husband was soundly asleep on the living room couch. Upon waking him up, he didn't even realize what was wrong and insisted it wasn't a big deal. I was so upset and angry. The baby was breathing in smoke for at least an hour, and the oven was close to catching on fire. The baby is fine after monitoring, and my husband says he understands the severity of what happened now. He's apologized and assured me that it won't happen again. I still feel very upset and definitely don't trust him. That was r/relationships, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.